Hello everyone, and welcome back to From Tin Pan Alley Cats to the Great White Way. What you were just listening to was from Camp Vermont in the Berkshires, and it was a recording of Nachamu, or at least a version of Nachamu, which is very popular in the Vermont camps. So, this is a special session, I'm sure, as you can guess by the fact that we're talking about summer camp. I'm wearing a Vermont shirt, I got a whole bunch of Vermont stuff behind me, and we're not talking necessarily about composers tonight. Because throughout the better part of the 20th century, Jewish summer camps have been very prevalent in the Jewish community. And they may have inspired a composer, an actor, here or there. I know it did for me. So I did attend summer camp for many, many years. And I will stress, we were not a performing arts camp. We are still not a performing arts camp. Yet, every summer, there were 5 shows put on over the course of 8 weeks. I'll remind you, 5 shows. The likes of Oscar Hammerstein, Ben Platt, and Ethan Slater all attended summer camps. So maybe there's something in the water? Or maybe something in the bug juice is more like it.
Welcome back to Camp Firewood. You've seen our amazing facilities. Now meet some of our amazing staff.
Hi, this is Susie. Welcome to Camp Firewood.
Hi, my name is Gail, and I'm going to be your arts and crafts teacher this summer.
My name's Neil. Vic, man, come for a sec.
Suck my dick.
It's classic. Classic, man.
Hey, Camp Firewood. Whether you need a tampon or a shoulder to cry on, I'm here for you. Bunk 7 Pride.
All I have to say is get ready, study, stay loose, keep it tight.
I feel like I don't really pay attention to the kids.
Hey, I'm Greg, boys' head counselor, and it's an honor. Please, don't be afraid of me. I'm a good guy.
Hey campers, I'm McKinley.
So let's get started. It's a soundtrack for the rest of your life.
And don't forget our other amazing counselors. You'll meet them all here at Camp Firewood. Get to know us in Waterville, Maine.
What you just saw was a promotional video from a Netflix series called Wet Hot American Summer, First Day of Camp. It is a prequel to the 2001 film Wet Hot American Summer, and just in generally, it's a parody of the summer camp experience, and pretty spot on in my opinion, but it's so much more than that. The writer and the director, David Wayne, based it on his own experiences at Camp Modine in Maine. So, even though it's never really stated that Camp Firewood is a Jewish summer camp, it is continually implied time and time again. Inspired by the 1979 film Meatballs, Wayne and his co-writer sought to bring the Jewishness back to the summer camp comedies. How did they do that? From the very first scene, you hear over the camp radio, much like how Camp Vermont, Wisconsin, we had WRMH Shmonim V'Tesha Psik Shalosh, you hear Kid DJ Artie, the beekeeper Solomon, telling everyone that it's the last day of camp and that those of you who are in the Bethesda Chevy Chase area can hear me all winter long on Jewish Day School radio. And that's just the beginning. So this is a bit more about the original film. I'm sure as you saw from the trailer itself, there were some familiar faces. The cast includes the likes of Paul Rudd, Christopher Maloney, Michael Showalter, David Hyde Pierce, and Molly Shannon. So here's another example of some of those continuing references.
I know you're all getting ready for the big talent show tonight, but the following campers need to put their trunks out so the early bus to Boston can pick them up at 7:30 a.m. Amanda Klein, Jessica Azaria, Ira Stevenberg, Saul Zimmerstein, David Victorian.
But it's more than just the references. Even the type of comedy that's used, the absurdity, some of the raunchiness, almost gross-out levels of humor are reminiscent to the likes of Mel Brooks. And this happens throughout the entire film. There's even a moment where they lean into the idea that they're going to have the underdog baseball team go up against the evil Camp Tiger Claw, and instead of having that moment of glory where the underdog beats the big baddies, they just we're over it, and just walk away, in what they call in comedy punching up. So there are articles upon articles upon articles about the Jewishness that is wet-hot American summer. Something that so many people simply understand and can relate their own experiences to. And that is where we will start our deep dive into Jewish summer camps and the impact they've had and continue to have on young artists and more. All right. According to Lana Schwartz, Jewish sleepaway camp is a phenomenon. It's hard to explain, and you know it when you see it. It's almost the definition of you had to be there to get the feeling of what it means to attend Camp Mosheva, Camp Wise, Camp Ramah, Azrui, or anywhere else. So how did it all get started? It started back in the 19th century with the rise of the larger organized camping movement throughout America. In those days, it was part of an attempt of getting kids who lived in the cramped, squalid conditions in the city away from it all, even for just a few weeks. Even by the 1920s, there were hundreds and hundreds of camps, and the tradition was already set up as a part of American culture. The earliest Jewish summer camps were a part of this in two ways. Either children from Jewish Eastern European immigrants were sent to these camps to become a bit more Americanized, or simply the campers were Jewish and so were the staff. Things started to change in the 1930s going forward, and the focus started to shift. It was no longer just camps for Jewish children ran by Jews, nor were they being Americanized. The camps changed their missions to be more focused on Jewish culture and education, which is still very prevalent in many camps still in operation today. There were Zionist camps, Yiddish camps, Hebrew camps, and more. But the shift was far more complete, as in the 1940s there was a shift centered more around the various denominations and levels of observance. It wasn't just about the education and cultural aspects. According to Jerry Silverman, the former president of the Foundation of Jewish Camping, the conservative, later followed by the Reform movement, saw these camps as opportunities to develop the future leaders of the communities. It's how places like the Ramah camping movement got started. And this has continued all the way into the present day, with a camp suited for pretty much nearly anyone. Sports-focused outdoor education, performing arts, Orthodox, Reconstructionist, you name it, chances are there's probably a camp for it. What does this have to do with musicals? So, according to the author Jonathan Krasner, music plays a critical role in creating a Hebrew atmosphere at camp. When I was at camp, not only did we perform in Hebrew, announcements were done in Hebrew, signs were in Hebrew. You had to order snack in Hebrew. The only day this was different was on Yom Sport, which was also the 4th of July. It's really the only time you were allowed to speak exclusively in English. So, where did the history of musicals at Jewish summer camps begin? Well, camps themselves were already evolving in the 1940s, and one such change that involved musicals occurred in the 1940s. The first camp to take on such an endeavor was Camp Mossad in the Poconos, who put on a production of Pirates of Penzance. Then, in 1951, Louis Newman, the director of Camp Ramah in Wisconsin, lured away Mossad's dramatic counselor, Leah Abrams. Newman would pay her to translate and produce Rodgers and Hammerstein's Oklahoma in Hebrew. It was such a success that they put it on for the parents at Visitors' Day and followed it up the next summer with Annie Get Your Gun and Guys and Dolls. Particularly at Ramah, Wisconsin, each play is commemorated with a plaque on the wall in the Beit Am, or like the general meeting space. They have the production schedule down to a science, ensuring that campers never see the same play twice over their tenure as campers. What you were just watching was a production of Your Good Man, Charlie Brown that Camp Vermont, Wisconsin did the summer of 2012. And I was actually the director of this production when I was working on drama staff that year. And yeah, we usually, because they are no-cut shows, we are working with any upwards of 70 to 80 kids, getting them all to work together and learning all of these songs. So I found that nearly every single show that I've ever done, the cast bonds together well, over inside jokes, bloopers, music, and more. The same is true for camp. As previously mentioned, Jonathan Krasner discusses the impact these musicals and Jewish music in general at camp in a book he co-authored with Sarah Bruning Ben-Or and Sharon Avni, and it's called Hebrew Infusion, the Language and Community at American Jewish Summer Camps. Singing or hearing these songs conjures up memories of camp and reinforces a sense of belonging and kinship with cabin mates, friends, and other camp personalities. Even years after their last camp experience, hearing a particular song cheer can transport a former camper back to sitting around the campfire. According to Krasner, when they were putting together the book, they met scores of people who were excitedly wanting to sing Hebrew versions of show tunes they remembered from years ago. And they even kept this going during the summer of 2012. Camps sought to give campers what they experienced and what they were missing out on, including the likes of fellow Romanic and my former camp counselor, Rabbi Josh Wachowski, who put on online concerts. All right. So Hang on. My camp was known as the Drama Ramah. We learned that when we went on Ramah Israel seminar, because apparently we were the ones who took it the most seriously. We ran things very, pretty much like a tight ship. There was rehearsal every day. If you had a lead role, you had extended rehearsals. In place of tech week, there was all-day play practice, and you would sit there on the concrete floor waiting for your turn. And yes, everything was done in Hebrew. It was either translated by the Mishlachet, or Israeli staff, or if we were lucky enough to get our hands on scripts from somewhere else, like was the case with Les Mis. Even Wet Hot American Summer, there are 2 overly enthusiastic drama instructors. And like I said, I was one such overly enthusiastic drama instructor during my time as a counselor. And the Hebrew acts as an equalizer of sorts. It makes things a little less serious because the chances are that half the audience has no idea what's going on, and it's all just a bit more fun. I will admit, the first times I ever saw, Hair, Cabaret, and Les Mis were all in Hebrew, and I was left with a lot of questions because I had no idea what was going on, why there was a monkey on stage. It was very confusing. The way they get around that sometimes is they have people write things up. And when I was on drama staff, they asked me to come in and talk to Nivonim, which is the oldest Eda, about the play. And I wrote up a whole thing for it. Come to sit down at the show, open up the playbill, and there's the entire 2 or 3 pages I wrote explaining the entire story of Les Mis. Like a Tablet magazine article says, maybe it's something in the bug juice. There was an article from July 31st, 2017, and this is talking about 3 leads at the time on Broadway who were not only all Jewish, but they all had gone to Jewish summer camps. First, you had Ben Platt from Dear Evan Hansen, Casey Levy from Frozen, and Ethan Slater in SpongeBob SquarePants. They are all Romanics, aka they all went to one of the many Camp Ramahs across North America. Ben Platt attended Camp Ramah in California, Casey Levy went to Camp Ramah in Canada, and Ethan Slater went to Camp Ramah in New England. Yes, this actually happened. Pretty amazing. And they all have something to say about the theater experiences that they had while they were there. According to Ben Goldberg, who was Rosh Drama at Ramah and the Poconos from 2013 to 2014, camp is a place where arts are cherished and the artistic talents is prized and cool. Goldberg goes on to say that he saw people audition for Hebrew language shows who would never dare audition for something in English. Performing in Hebrew, I said, has the unintended consequence of lowering risks, since, I said, chances are people understanding you are low. So first we're going to talk a little bit about Benjamin Platt. Benjamin Platt was born in Los Angeles as the son of Julie and Mark Platt, a film and theater producer. He attended a performing arts school, and some of his earliest roles were Bye Bye Birdie and Into the Woods. At the age of 9, he played Winthrop Peru at the Hollywood Bowl opposite Kristen Chenoweth, and I said he went to Camp Ramah in California. In 2012, he began playing the role of Elder Cunningham in Book of Mormon in the Chicago production, the local one. And this is followed by a supporting role in the film Pitch Perfect. And currently, I'm sure a lot of you have seen his face on late night TV promoting the film Dear Evan Hansen, which he also played the role in on stage.
Two friends, true friends, oh no, two friends.
Now this is a special little thing. This is from Reshet Ramah. Reshet Ramah is the alumni portion of the Ramah camping movement, and they actually brought in Casey Levy and Ben Platt to perform with some other more notable alumni from the camps, talking about their experiences.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
Ki atahu melech adon lecha hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lecha hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael
Bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
Ladies and gentlemen, please keep the applause going for all of our performers. Welcome them up to the stage. Come up and take one more bow. Josh Ehrlich, Dylan Landau, Jamie Middleman, David Offit, Jacob Samuels, Dana Haynes.
Shalom Rav Yisrael.
So, Casey Levy, who's the one who started off singing, this is what she has to say about her own experience. Ramah in general was a musical place, and that really influenced me. Whether we were singing Birkat Hamazon, davening Shabbat Mincha, or having an oneg in the Charar, there was always song, and that had a big impact on me. So here's a little bit about Casey Levy. Casey Levy was born in Ontario, Canada, and is the youngest of 3 children. She attended Camp Ramah in Canada, and she later on attended the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. After graduating in 2002, she played Maureen Johnson in the national tour of Rent. Casey starred as Sheila in the revival of Hair in 2008, which should be noted is the exact same role she played in her production of Hair at summer camp. Most notably, Casey is known for playing the role of Elsa in the stage production of Frozen from its opening in Denver all the way until February of 2020.
My power flurries through the air into the ground. My soul is spiraling in frozen fractals all around. And one thought crystallizes like an icy blast. I'm never going back.
have been paying particularly close attention and remember me speaking about Adina Menzel, who is also Jewish, that does mean there's a continuing trend of Elsa being played by Jewish actresses. Right. Next up is Ethan Slater. So he actually talks about his camp experience as well. So, according to Slater, his Jewish upbringing impacted his career and every aspect of his life, including his childhood summers. He attended Camp Ramah, New England, because his dad worked in the MARP as the camp doctor. I originally went there as a staff brat, but stayed on until I was 16. So Ethan Slater was born in Silver Spring, Maryland on June 2nd, 1992. He attended Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School and went to Camp Ramah in New England during the summers. Slater attended Vassar College in Poughkeepsie, New York, and his Broadway debut came playing the role of SpongeBob in SpongeBob the Musical, which sounds as pretty ridiculous, but believe me, take the time. If you can find the pro shot, or when it comes, go and see it. It is actually a very, very, very good show. This led to a Tony nomination for Best Lead Actor in a Musical. Slater has now gone on to play a number of other roles, including Joel Grey in the FX miniseries Fosse Verdon, another really good watch. And he's currently playing Lee Harvey Oswald in an off-Broadway production of Sondheim's Assassins. And he also writes his own EPs and puts out music every once in a while as well. These are hardly the three only famous alumni that have come out of any of, well, just generally Jewish summer camps in general. I've got a whole list of them, including a funny story about this. So here's a small list of people who have of Jewish people who've gone to Jewish summer camps. You can feel free to read this at yourself. I myself have discovered that if you think that Jewish geography is bad enough, it's even worse when you've gone to camp. I was on Nativ with one of my best friends from camp. We were at the Israel Museum. We were in line waiting to go see a whole exhibit about Herod, and these two women were talking behind us, and we were talking about our experiences at camp. And they start asking, hey, which camp did you go to? And we have this whole back and forth, and they're like, oh yeah, did you know that Chaim Potok was our Rosh Dah at Camp Ramah? And I think it was either Poconos or New England. And we just stared at them blankly, like, how is that even possible? But then you just have to remember, Jewish geography, and the world is a lot smaller than you think. So I already mentioned that both Casey Levy and Ethan Slater particularly talked about the experiences of music and their experiences at camp. And I agree with them. Every activity was filled with song. Well, you would end every night singing Rod Hayom before you would go back to the cabins. We'd sing on Friday nights, loudly and raucously. So raucously, in fact, that before we had our Nucha, our Ochels, somebody fell through the floor. Most importantly, every camp-wide event ended with staff members unfurling a very large banner that's been around for God knows how long with the words of the camp song written on it that we'd sing very badly while jumping up and down. And here you can have that experience for yourself.
Getting a little intense. Try pausing it and pushing play again.
So tonight is actually a bit of a little shorter session. It's a bit more niche. So before I show you what we will be talking about next month, I think if we're meeting next month, I've got a poll. Not that. Okay. Who all went to summer camp? I can't be the only one. If you're wondering why there was no trivia tonight, I thought it would be too mean to ask which camp I went to. If you personally know me, you're not allowed to guess, but you can throw it up in the chat if you want to guess. I think I did mention it already. Or for bonus points, you can guess what any of the other actors as well, which I've already stated. Okay, so it looks like 7 people who are on tonight have attended some form of summer camp. Right. So next session, we are continuing with our whole thing about Broadway composers, and we're heading into more of the present day with the likes of Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, Come From Away, and The Band's Visit, which are all fairly new shows from about the 2010s and forward. And I'll be digging around some other stuff as well. Oops. And for those of you, just as a note to throw out there, if you have access to, let's see, there we go. If you have access to Apple TV, I highly recommend watching the pro shot from Come From Away that was recently released about 2 weeks ago. Doesn't take much of your time. It's just rather short for a musical. It's all done in one act, and it's about an hour and 45 minutes. And it will certainly help you understand the story and get to see the whole thing for yourself, because some of it's just really hard to explain, and once again, you have to be there. Ah, good. Someone said, great, cool, it's coming back to Denver. I hope to be going. And hopefully other people will get to as well. Same thing with Band's Visit. You can't necessarily, there's not a pro shot of that one, but there is an Israeli film that the musical is based on, as well as a true event. Movie, a little bit different, still a very good watch, and I will actually be talking about that as well. All right, said a little shorter than usual, a bit more niche, and hoping to see you all next month. If anybody's got any questions, feel free, or I think we can call it here for tonight.
Thank you so much for this. This was a lot of fun. I didn't go to Jewish summer camp because I didn't grow up Jewish, but I did get to go to theater camp, and I did a lot of Sondheim while we were there, so it was pretty great.
Yes. And also, if you're into that kind of humor, Wet Hot American Summer is also a lot of fun to see. Especially because a lot of those actors, it was some of their very, very first roles, and it's pretty interesting to see, especially Paul Rudd, because that man does not age. I'm convinced he's a vampire. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, and thanks for coming. We'll see you soon.
I still sing songs from summer camp. I still remember from when I was a child. I still remember the verses from Color Wars Cheers. Oh, when it was just lots of fun, and it really made an impression on me. I can really relate to that. Yeah. We didn't do the musicals at Mossad. we did Israeli plays, the world dramas.
Yeah, we basically did all musicals, and I was on drama.
We sang everything. We had, the Mossad choir, but we didn't do the musical plays. I missed that. I loved it.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for attending tonight.
Okay, it was fun. Bye.
Bye.
You trolled.